Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the money tree by LeapFx. We're going to be looking at week 5 and week 6 results combined. And that's because the previous video that we did was, I think, around the 22nd or 23rd of August, which was the 1 month update results on the money tree. And then in week 5, we basically didn't have any trades whatsoever. So no video for that week. And then week 6, we did have some trades. So we're going to look at both of that combined. Just some summary for everybody or anybody who's new here. The money tree robot is a system developed by the vendor LeapFx. You can find it on leapfx.com/moneytree. And basically, they claim that with this robot, you can accumulate over 700% profit in just 3 months with basically zero experience. That's obviously using some sort of high risk. And then they have my FX book results as well to prove that. So far, we ran it for 1 month. In the 1 month, we only landed up with 50% profit, which was around $500. So we were looking previously at an account of $1,500, which was still very impressive. To make $500 from a robot is the highest that I ever got. The previous highest I've ever got was 25% consistently. So that was still very impressive. So let's take a look at their MyFX book. Just again, a summary. $1,000 basically deposited in February, and then they're sitting at around $25,000 now on a real account. So very impressive, and this was what we were trying basically to replicate. Now, when we look over here, we can see this week they're still up in profit of around $257, but we do see a drop off in pips. And if we basically go to the last couple of trades that they had, so let's look in the history, we can see here that the vendor did take a loss on the Euro New Zealand dollar, which was $1,400 in the negative, and then it seems that it closed those two trades together, which then led to a positive of $1,600. So basically the second trade covered up for the first trade and then still gave us an extra $200 odd, which is, I guess, where that $257 comes from. So just try and remember this, bear this in mind, because when I show you my chart, you're going to see similar trades, although I've realized not entirely identical. And I'm not sure what the reason for that is, because I see they are trading, the same pairs as well. So I actually just want to go see here. So for the month of August, they are up 20%. So they're getting very, very good results on this particular robot. And I don't seem to be able to replicate this entirely. And I don't know, okay, they do have New Zealand and Swedish. Okay, so let's jump over to my results. So basically, since we ended our last video, there's 2 new trades by the vendor. That was on the 29th and Euro New Zealand dollar. So when we jump over to the live results that we've been having, give me a sec. Okay, so this is basically where we ended off here, right? Around $41 in the positive, which gave us around $500. And since then, we can see here on the 29th, I actually had 2 sells go in, one on the Euro New Zealand dollar and one on Euro Swiss franc. Now, when I come all the way down here, and this is basically looking at the trades that I've taken since then, that the robot has taken, you can basically see, okay, it's not grouped here quite so well, but I'll kind of talk you through what happened. Essentially what happened was, on this Euro and New Zealand dollar over here, we had a first trade go in at a 0.4 lot size. Now, bear in mind, a 0.4 lot size on a $1,000 account is very aggressive. It's considered part of their high risk settings. Although we said we want to test their high risk settings because that's the only way we're going to be able to see if we can get the same results that they had, right? I did actually want to move the lot size up to 0.5. But I didn't actually get the chance, and luckily I didn't, because you'll see what happened in a minute. So basically what happened was, it was the first time, if you look at the history of the robot, we've only taken 0.4 lot sizes, right? That's what's been set by myself. However, in this particular case was the first time we saw some sort of, I wouldn't call it martingale, but some sort of grid martingale strategy perhaps by the robot, where we took a 0.4 lot size. We did go into quite a big drawdown. This was much higher. This went into about maybe minus $200, plus in drawdown. And then what the robot did was, in combination, while still having this cell over here open, it basically opened another cell, okay, which was this Euro New Zealand dollar here at a bigger lot size, and it did this automatically, so I didn't adjust it at all. And you can see that's a 0.68. And essentially this results mimic exactly what the vendor had, right? Where the vendor had one trade here, which was this winning trade, all right, at a bigger lot size, I assume, that covered up the loss of the smaller lot size trade and then gave us some profit. And if you remember, when we look at the vendors' results, that's exactly what they did, right? They had, two trades open, one closed in negative stop loss and one closed in profit. So it's good to see that we were able to replicate those trades. But the trade that the vendor did not take, which landed up absolutely thrashing me, was the Euro Swiss franc. Again, with the Euro Swiss franc was the first time I saw some sort of martingale grid strategy. Again, we started on a 0.4 lot size. We went into huge negative drawdown, and then what it did was it opened up another lot size on a 0.68 to basically compensate for that loss, much like the Euro New Zealand dollar trade did. However, the Euro New Zealand dollar landed up closing in positive. With the Euro Swiss franc, both actually landed up closing in negative. And the combination of those two basically brought our account down. If you actually look at the profit and loss now, it's down from 500. If you go watch the previous video, we were sitting at a profit of $500. It actually brought that down all the way to $245. So we're still in profit in terms of, we haven't gone into our $1,000 initial deposit. However, we did take a massive loss this week. And why I say it's quite interesting is because we had the Euro New Zealand dollar kind of play out the exact same way that the vendor did. However, the vendor doesn't have the Euro Swiss franc trade in. And I'm not quite sure why. I maybe go back in a couple of days and see, if my FX book updates in a couple of days, maybe if then shows, then I'll definitely come and update everybody to say, look, in the next video they did reflect it immediately, or it was shown at a later date. However, when I looked at the MyFX book now quickly, I didn't actually see that particular trade, which is quite interesting, because if we didn't take this Euro Swiss franc, we would have had identical results to the vendor. Now, I just want to go and double check quickly. Perhaps I made a mistake and basically put this on the Euro Swiss franc chart when I wasn't supposed to. So I'm going to go have a look if the vendor has any Euro Swiss franc trades or not. But in any case, I'm not going to dwell too much on that. It was also perhaps the first time, I just want to have a look here, that we traded that particular pair. And it does look like it was the first time that we traded that pair. So first time we traded that pair, and we did take a loss on it. So give me 1 second, I will be with you shortly. I want to go double check that the vendor has Euro Swiss franc on the account. Okay guys, so you join me again here. I've come to the vendor's MyFX book and I've just filtered by symbol. And I do see here that there is a Euro Swiss franc pair. So it's not a mistake that I made. We do have a Euro Swiss franc pair which we are supposed to be trading. So definitely, it is something there. However, when we're looking at the seller's trades, they didn't take that Euro Swiss franc trade, which is quite interesting. I'm not quite sure why that's happened. We are sitting today on the 3rd of September, so it should have updated by now. We see that there's no open trade, so it's not like they have or holding anything at the moment, but they didn't land up taking the Euro Swiss franc at all, which is quite strange to me. I don't actually know what the reason is for that, but that's something to bear in mind, because if we didn't take that trade, we would have had basically the same as the vendor. So it's last updated here we got on the 29th of August. And if I look at when my trade was executed, okay, so when we see when ours was executed was on the 31st. Okay, so 30th and 31st. So that explains it. All right, so we did take the trade. The vendor may have taken the trade, but it's only the FX books is only updated until the 29th. So let's see when the next refresh comes around. If they do have it on there, then we know we've kind of on the same wavelength with the vendor. However, if they don't have the trade, or if it's removed for some reason, then we're going to see, basically say something's up and something's quite dodged. But at the moment, they've got their last one on the 29th, which was the Euro New Zealand dollar. So I'm pretty happy with, saying that we've basically copied the vendor's results with this robot, and it's working quite well. We did obviously make a loss in week 6 with this Euro Swiss franc trade. But let's see what happens in the coming week. If the robot's basically able to make that money back, and if the vendor's MyFX book updates as well to reflect that. So stay tuned, guys. I'll update you as and when we get some updates. Thanks so much for tuning in. Cheers.